Cheaters in Warzone are evolving in a very strange way, but it isn't the end of the world. We actually have some really positive information today from Activision talking about anti-cheat in Warzone and how they've actually improved the situation for cheaters. Now, I know that might sound like a fairy tale dream for some of you, but the information in this video today is actually really interesting and part of their new permaban update which they released recently. But before we begin this today, I wanted to show you guys this clip of this player who is cheating in Warzone, who has managed to alter the game's code base to allow him to use night vision goggles in Warzone, and also able to fire his gun sideways as though he was in a night vision format game. This is super interesting. He was also capable of auto-pinging players through every single surface, building, wall and material in the game, and I've never seen code manipulation of this level in Warzone, and interestingly, the streamer who was spectating him actually went on to chat to the guy, and he had created these cheats by himself. He was an actual coder who had done these cheats, so hopefully this isn't something that gets into the wider public's hands, but really interesting nonetheless, because I despise cheaters in Warzone, but I've never seen anything this advanced in Warzone except for like aim bots and wall hacks. This is truly taking it to a new level. A pretty terrifying clip if you think about it, but ultimately it isn't the end of the world. And the reason for this is because Call of Duty has released a new anti-cheat progress report, which actually has some really good news in it. Some good news that for once we can talk about. To start with, Warzone actually has introduced another ban wave, and this is the 7th large volume ban wave since February, which is an increase in frequency of these ban waves occurring. And they've said in the statement here that they have deployed more resources to their enforcement teams to increase the volume of high volume ban waves on a regular basis, which means that they can mass ban multiple accounts and continue to enforce daily bans as well in Warzone to reduce the number of cheaters in the game. Now, I know a lot of that is buzzwords that we've heard before, but there are actually two really key bits of information that they did include which will actually make a difference. To start with, they've ramped up the use of two-factor authentication, which makes it harder for new accounts to cheat. Effectively, yes, you can get around this by spoofing a phone number, but it makes it more difficult. There are more hurdles in the way for the cheaters to create new accounts, which is definitely a good thing. Most good anti-cheats will have a number of various different hurdles that will make it continually more difficult to make more accounts, and in the hope that some cheaters will just flat out stop doing it because it just becomes too problematic. And they've also included information that they are issuing hardware bans. They don't actually issue just random account bans, these are hardware bans on PCs. So if you cheat on your PC in Warzone and you get hardware banned, you physically cannot play Warzone on any account through that PC. Now, of course, this can change if you decide to spoof the hardware ID, which is possible with some coding tools, but it again adds more layers of intricacies and more hurdles for cheaters to jump through. And these are the kind of factors and kind of things that you would expect in a really solid anti-cheat. A really solid anti-cheat will have as many hurdles as possible and actually make it difficult for people to cheat and create new accounts if they're banned cheating. So this is steadily one of the first steps we've seen in definitely eradicating cheating in Warzone. I think no matter how good your anti-cheat is, fundamentally you're always going to have some, but definitely this is an improvement on what has been done before. It seemed that Warzone was basically just letting them run amok before. Now they're actually going after some of these cheaters with hardware bans, two-factor authentication, and hopefully they'll continue to add more hurdles in the way. Now, another really great thing that Activision has been doing is they've actually been going after the websites themselves. They have been issuing cease and desist, they've been suing, they've been completely destroying, legally speaking, multiple websites, taking them out, taking the list of the cheaters on those accounts as well, which is pretty insane, and just completing every single bit of information they can do. So they've managed to take down multiple large cheating websites, they've managed to give them cease and desist letters, sue them, and they've also managed to actually attain some lists of players who are cheating and ban them too. So that's a really comprehensive thing, and that's something that even some of the best anti-cheat providers don't actually do. It's very rare for them to go after the cheat providers, and I guess Activision here is leveraging their incredibly large legal team to make some of this stuff happen. So really positive signs of a solid anti-cheat starting to feature in the game, combined with the fact that they're actually taking a legal route to take these websites offline permanently, which ultimately means that in the future, there'll be less cheaters in Warzone. Now, I'm not saying the situation's perfect. Definitely I've noticed that we have had some hackers and cheaters recently, but ultimately the situation ebbs and flows a lot more. There are some weeks where I face no cheaters and some weeks where I face a few, but a couple of months ago, you know, the situation was that you would face a cheater in nearly every single game. And I'm glad to see that situation is steadily changing. Of course, it varies from person to person, but ultimately, this will mean that there are less cheaters in the game. Activision has also published a research proposal that they actually tried, tested, and did themselves, which is really interesting. And they actually found that the majority of cheats for sale with Warzone actually had malware, such as cryptocurrency miners in the cheats themselves. So a little bit of lovely karma in the grand scheme of things, because people who are cheating in Warzone are statistically most likely getting malware on their computer. So some encouraging signs with Warzone anti-cheat. I definitely think the situation has been much worse in the past, and I definitely think hopefully with some of these changes we'll see a significant change in the future. But something I also wanted to talk about in this video today was the changes to Season 3. Now, they've actually announced some significant changes that are coming in Season 3 for Warzone, including nerfs to the Rose skin, nerfs to the M16, the AUG, the FFAR, and the Psychov pistols. So it appears that they were waiting for Season 3 to release a very serious update with good changes. They're going to be nerfing all of those weapons, changing the Rose skin to make it more visible, and trying to improve the game in lots of ways. Now, I'm kind of holding my breath for this because fundamentally, I really don't think that we're going to see a number of great changes. I'm hopeful, you know, I really do hope that they completely blitz all the guns and they properly balance them. But I think we've seen in the past that Raven Software and Activision are happy to slightly tweak the weapons and hope that it worked instead of actually, you know, nerfing the weapons completely. Now, there's a chance I could be completely wrong here, and when Season 3 releases, they fix the FFAR, they fix the Psychovs, they fix the M16s and the AUGs, and they've actually made the Rose skin like a high-vis character. But part of me is really apprehensive about whether or not that's something that's going to happen in the game, and I'm not entirely sure myself if I have the willingness to believe that that is going to be the case. I'm hopeful. I really do hope that they don't break anything in Season 3, and I really hope any new weapons they introduce to balance. But we're just going to have to wait and see. I've got some serious concerns about the MAA1 and the LSAT ending up to be completely OP weapons in the game, and I'm hopeful that won't be the case. But you know what, Raven, you've broken my heart far too many times. I'm not willing to trust you anymore when it comes to this stuff. And fingers crossed we will see some positive changes in there. I do want to talk about the fact that they actually managed to reveal these changes in a reply to a streamer. So those of you who are familiar with Courage, they actually responded to one of his tweets talking about all the issues in Warzone, rather than, you know, tweeting that they were going to, you know, change all of these issues, or, you know, even post a news article or a web page or whatever. It was just a tweet. And that in itself is a problem. There's a sheer lack of communication from Warzone at the moment, and I really do hope that they get like a proper community or social team to have a website or something the players can look towards whenever something is going on in the game. But as always, folks, thank you for watching. It's been me, TheTacticalBrit, and I'll catch you again in another video.